This is not a unique story. The more people I get to know, the more I know it to be a common story among my generation. We've all made deep connections with people through the internet. We told ourselves it would last forever, but everything fades away eventually. This is a brief glimpse at the friends that I had gathered and lost. When I was 13, if you would have asked me what I value most in life, I would have said the friends that I had gathered online. Yet somehow in such a short time, I had strayed far away from that esteem, against my own will. One day in 2013, I went on to an online chat room, ran by fellow fans of the Legend of Zelda franchise. No one at my school shared this interest, so I was super excited to find people who cared as much as I did about my favorite video game series. I stuck around on that chat room for a good 3 years. Even when there was no one else there, I would make a point of visiting this chat room every day. I would read every message from everybody there. I was utterly obsessed with these strangers I'd never met before, talking to them like they were my best friends. We all learned a lot about each other. Delaney was the founder of the group who kept everyone in check. Rocky was the sweetest person you'd ever meet, who loved her friends more than she loved herself. Jasmine was a talented artist, always drawing something adorable. She drew most of these portraits I'm showing now. Amy was an excellent writer, and Joey always knew how to make somebody laugh. It was a grand time. Then there was the enigmatic Excalibur Aura 4D. I was intimidated by him at first, probably because of his epic username, but as soon as we started talking one-on-one, we would talk all the time about anything and everything. His name was Travis, and he was from Canada. Amy and Travis were my official best friends. Once we all got each other's Skype, anytime we were in a call together would be the highlight of that day. There was something empowering to me about being around Travis. With him, I felt like I could take on the world. We would record Let's Plays together.
Yeah, welcome back to...
Welcome to my first episode, because my audio...
Welcome back to Team Polar Bear Epic Footage 1999.
We would write and draw stuff together.
What is this? This is like the thing I have nightmares about.
We were even planning on designing a role-playing game together before we realized how difficult of a process it was. We had become super close friends who could talk about anything with each other. This friendship blossomed over more than 3 years. He had changed his name to Nathan, but was still the same person I knew and loved. He was even there for me after all the others had gone their separate ways. One night, he dropped a serious proposition of me coming to British Columbia to visit him. Meeting up with online friends is something you always talk about but rarely ever commit to. But I knew that we had something special, so I talked my parents into taking a road trip to Vancouver one summer. I was very excited to drive up there and see him. Along the way, my family and I explored the beautiful landscapes of Montana, Idaho, and Washington. Once we got to Vancouver, I saw Nathan in real life for the first time, in a mall food court, and then I ate poutine for the first time. For those who don't know, poutine is French fries with gravy and cheese curds, a Canadian delicacy. Meeting an online friend in real life is very jarring for a while, but once you start talking, you realize that the chemistry is still there. It was like Skype, but we could actually interact with each other in person. What a novel concept. We walked around in the mall and talked about how different the products were than in America. That was my first time outside of the US. My parents were making acquaintance with his parents. That must have been such a trip for them. This probably only went on for a couple hours before my family and I went back to our hotel to rest. From then on, Nathan and I only had 1 day left to see each other in person. The next day, my mother had bought tickets for this whale-watching boat tour in which we were crowded onto a boat on the search for whales on the Canadian shore. I wasn't that excited about it. It would have been much cooler if we actually ever saw any whales. It felt like a big ripoff, but they assured us that this practically never happened and that we could have a free boat ride another time. Like that would ever happen. This whole boring cruise, Nathan and I were sitting next to each other trying to think of things to say so that these couple of hours didn't go to waste. But I was just in awe of being next to this guy I had only previously seen on a computer screen my whole prior life. It was weird, but exciting. After a whale-less whale watching, the rest of the day was very nice. It was July 25th, if I recall correctly, the Canadian celebration of Light Festival, so there was a sea of people on the beach. For dinner, we ate some great heroes, and then Nathan and I took a walk around the blocks, talking about everything and nothing, all at once. I couldn't recall a single thing I said today. It all led up to the most amazing fireworks show I've ever seen. We watched them from the beach. The radio was playing some epic orchestral music to go along with the show. I remember looking at Nathan and smiling. After that, Nathan and I had to go our separate ways. "I wish we had just one more day," I said. He just gave a melancholic shrug. I hugged him goodbye, and my family and I found ourselves pushing through the sea of people to get back to our hotel. Thus ends the peak of my Canadian adventure. That was the last time I had ever seen Nathan, or even really talked to him for that matter. It was almost immediate that we mutually stopped talking after that week. You would think that this experience would strengthen our friendship, but we ultimately fizzled away. It's one of those things that I can't really explain. Perhaps after that point, the friendship lost its enigmatic wonder once it became tangible. Perhaps we were intimidated by the sympathetic heart of change. Maybe real life just got in the way. I don't know. I'm sure everyone has had a dear friend that they've lost connection with. I never thought it would happen to us, though. From this experience, I've learned to cherish the connections I've had. I've slipped into my own world, a world full of knowledge. I do have a lot of regrets. I wish I could have been more supportive of my friends. I wish I didn't have such an ego as to chastise the changes that my circle has taken. I guess you could say I've given up on making contact. One of the last things Nathan ever said to me was conversation is a two-way street. If it were ever to start up again, I would not hesitate to talk. Personally, I've gone through several positive changes in my youth, like any healthy American, but never to the extent as some of my less fortunate friends. I just want to say thank you for being a friend, and I'll never forget you.